Welcome back to my channel. I got Daniel here with me again today, and Daniel from Cosmic Convergence, and we're going to hang out and talk about the series that I just put out on my channel. And Daniel is, well read up on the phenomenon and all, and his experiences as well too to add to it. So yeah, we're just going to hang out and talk about it. So thanks, Daniel, for coming back.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on the show, Jeff. Again, it was fantastic to talk with you. Last time we just were talking about it of maybe it was around June. I don't remember. The summer's blown by. It's been sitting crazy busy, I think, for
Yeah,
both of us, but
yeah.
it was great to be able to talk about part one. So yeah, through the summertime, you dropped all the parts and kept watching them, and it's been fantastic. So great job on the series. I know it was a lot of work for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a year's worth of research. So it doesn't look like it. 12 parts, it looks like just a cool series, but yeah, it was a year's worth of research. It was pretty nuts.
Oh my
And
gosh.
but yeah, it was really wild time. Yeah, the summer's been pretty packed as well too. And so what's been going on with you? I'd like to catch up with you. What's been going on with you?
Yeah, so I've just honestly been putting a lot of time into family over the
Nice.
summertime. So we've had various times to record a few episodes for our podcast with Cosmic Convergence, but it's been fairly busy with everyone. So
Yeah.
we've just been trying to, just get through the summer, but it's been good. Honestly, just been doing MUFON cases as well. I'm a field investigator with Idaho MUFON, as you
Awesome.
know. So just continuing to work with that. Things kind of slowed down over the summertime, but we've had a few cases and been following up, and it's been good. But yeah, it's just like it's interesting because when I got into the field investigation, it really helped me keep me grounded in it, and versus just wanting to get a new news cycle to stoke my interest in the UFO subject. But it's been great to do that, and still been having synchronicities happen randomly, and yeah, it's been a fun time, and I know that we've chatted here and there, and we're able to.
Yeah.
So yeah, always enjoy those check-ins. So yeah,
Yeah, you
but
got
what
it.
about you, Jeff?
Yeah, summer was pretty interesting. I was pretty focused on the series. This is kind of
Yeah,
my lifeblood, I guess you can say. And yeah, I put a lot of energy behind it to get it out. Other than that, yeah, family and friends. And I actually had a small injury that I had to attend to. Just nothing major, just tendonitis. And then amongst that were like kind of you said as well too, there's synchronicities. There were synchronicities around it. As soon as I took time off, Linda Moulton Howe called me up, and I was on her program, and it was
that's right.
really,
That's right.
yeah, it was oddly timed. It was like just 2 days after I took this time off, and then I got a bunch of interviews right after that. So it was all like the universe was waiting for me to take time off. I can't like figure it out. And Linda's hard to get a hold of actually. She when she needs to talk to with you, you have to stop everything, and otherwise you might not get her again. So I was at the beach and I did the interview on the phone at the beach, and it was pretty cool. But
Oh
she,
wow, that's wild.
yeah, and it was what did I say? It was 2.5 hours of talking with her,
Yeah,
and then she just cuts things out and uses everything for
right.
herself. And I think she made like 20 minutes out of our 2.5 hours of talking. And she has her own stories that are very wild. I mean, she's never written a book about herself, but she definitely can write, like, she has some stories that were mind blowing that she just tells me off the cuff. And I probably don't think I can relay those stories. Maybe one day I will, but it just and she's well known in the UFO field, and so she has stories about Jalen Hynek, personal stories, and Leo
Wow.
Sprinkle, and these other kind of big name researchers, and she's known them for a long time, and Gary Nolan, and so she has personal stories about these people, and her interest and how they bring her into her work or their work, and so she has these really neat stories that kind of interlay, and yeah, and we also hashed out what we thought the phenomenon's doing and what it's all about. And and what was really interesting was we both landed on what we thought was going on as timelines. That this might be the result of we might be a timeline that's not exactly what we want, and that's why
Hmm.
it's turned out the way it is, and that this actually
Hmm.
might. And that she agreed that this looks like it's all about timelines, and so that was anyway, I might be spilling too much without giving more context. So, but I don't want to go into that too much. But it was just, and that was just part of the cap of the summer, right? It was like I was at late July, early August. So having this chat with Linda was so cool. So yeah, that was a high point.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember when that happened. I remember you texted me and I was like, "Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I can't believe it." And
yeah,
sure enough, a few days later it's out and all I have to say as a video editor of 10 years, I my heart goes out to whoever edits all
yeah,
the interviews that she does. It's like, all
yeah,
right, we're gonna have like 20 minutes of a 2 hour, 2.5 hour interview, but
yeah,
their team looks like they do a really good job with that. And
yeah,
yeah, no, and really enjoyed the conversation. I did want more because I know that there was more, but it's just kind of funny how we have like the big channels and stuff in the UFO field or just on the internet, right? Where kind of the general person listens to.
yeah,
And then you have all the other stuff that's either private or, we're interacting or talking with
yeah,
someone else and not recording it. And,
yeah,
how much stuff and context actually happens between synchronicities with either experiencers or researchers or other things. And then I don't know, we don't just don't really talk about that part of things. And I think that it's something to just to notate.
yeah. I know what you mean. It's very interesting. I think it's like layered. I think you used that word
Mhm.
last time to describe the phenomenon, how it communicates. And I think that's happening here. I think on our level, as we interact with the phenomenon, it's layered. So
Yep.
there's something that's happening to me, but it's also making meaning out of someone else who's listening. And then, yeah, the
Yep.
aliens themselves can use you putting something out in public and they can direct a person towards it. And then, yeah, then there's the personal development side for an individual who went through that. Yeah, it's so fascinating and very wacky. One thing
Yeah.
that was very telling about my interview with Linda, and I'll say here because I think it adds to the series that I did, um, is so she pressed me during the interview, what do you know about the other entities besides gray aliens? What other entities did you interact with? And I was like, well, there were these humanoids, but I didn't really learn about them. From Venus, there was this humanoid, and then there was during the biological events, there were humanoids. And then the 23rd contact event, there's this person who identifies themselves as Palladian, and that was it. Like it wasn't like I was hanging out with these individuals that I got to learn more about them. And so I don't really have enough information about them. And during her video that she put out, she kind of talked about, you know, our interview, and it was kind of brief, like 20 minutes. And then she pulled out this letter of someone who had all this background knowledge about humanoids, and what she told me during the interview said it all. She said, I can't get a consistent picture out of anybody about what's going on with all the different alien races. How are they all interacting with each other? She can't, except for obviously mantids and gray aliens, which appear to be very consistent. But that's it. You don't get any other consistency. And she has all these military whistleblowers who try to tell her this story about, oh, there's these ones here and they fight these ones and those ones don't like these ones and these ones don't get along, and she can't make that picture work with the contactees. That was really interesting, and that's why I kind of keep leaning towards, well, military. I'm kind of getting convinced that they know the actual picture and they're purposely misleading because they're trying
Yeah.
to protect the information because they know what's going to happen. And
Right.
that's, I'm kind of leaning towards that now. I didn't kind of just start that way when I got into this field, but now I do. And so she's kind of deceived about the picture, but she can't get that picture to match up with contactees. And that's so interesting. I find that so fascinating, especially with her because of her rich depth of how much she knows
Yeah.
and how long she's been in the field for. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was just a cool highlight of that interaction I had with her. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, when it comes to whistleblowers in the government, right, we always have to know that some of the information could be false. It could
Yeah.
be misinformation that they're used, right? In the intelligence community, they'll give you a packet that will be a little bit different than another packet they'll give somebody else. So that helps them track down who's uh who's leaking information.
Yeah.
And when and I think we've had this conversation before, when we were going over the hybrid presentation, right? We're going over the John Keel 1997 documents where the verbiage is very hostile in
Right.
the way that they're using these terminologies. But they're using it in a militaristic view and
Yeah.
standpoint of wanting to resist anything that's outside of the U.S. Uh, American power structure. So anything that could potentially be inadvertently like changing or eventually in the future, like them coming here, right? They would see that as a threat, even if it isn't a threat.
Right.
So you always have to have that in mind. But yeah, no, that when it comes to whistleblowers, military whistleblowers and experiencers, there's a huge discrepancy
Yeah.
when it has this kind of general consistent threat narrative with the military, but then with experiencers, it's kind of all over the map. It's more so about what is it doing for the individual that's having these experiences? What's the what's the results of it, not necessarily the minute details and how they connect with all these others, you know. And there are similarities, but there are a lot of discrepancies. So it's just something to have in mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The crossover is very fascinating. And a good example of this is Preston Dennett just invited, a public or, an invite Facebook group, and it's the healing power of UFOs. So he wanted to make a Facebook group about that talks strictly about that. And he's got a huge database that makes up his book, the healing power of UFOs. And then he had a Bud Hopkins quote on there, and that was fascinating. He was a paragraph of so I guess Bud Hopkins was asked right back in 1990 something. Have you ever heard of UFOs healing people? And he says, I have. I actually have several cases. So Bud Hopkins was the threat guy, right? He had a
Right.
threat narrative about the UFO phenomenon, but he couldn't make sense of why are they taking people and healing them? And then he also said, what's not making sense is why aren't they doing that for everybody? Because what it does is it sets up a weird precedent where, hey, why can't we all get healed by UFOs? This doesn't make any sense. And why are they choosing people the way they do? So he was just bewildered by it, and so didn't conclude it in his information because he just couldn't make sense of they heal some people, they don't do it with others. What's going on here? I don't understand that. So for him, he put it out, he put it off as a grand, you know, confusing aspect of the phenomenon. And yeah, it's just you're right. Like there's always this kind of push and pull where you have some correct information and then people can't make sense of things and they may or may not admit it or omit it or they may have a bias towards it. So yeah,
Right.
fascinating, man. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. But you know, it's just fascinating stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah. But did you want to start jumping into the
We can just
notes?
we can just go on, right? That's the problem. We can just keep talking and talking and talking. Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about this series. So I really
Okay,
appreciate you
awesome.
coming on.
I was
Yeah,
gonna,
let's
I'm like, oh no, Jeff, we're gonna keep going, and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
gonna be like 2 hours, and I don't want to do
yeah.
that to you. Before we get into it, by the way, I wanted to show you this. I just got this. It's a
Oh
Commonwealth
yeah, yeah.
hearing of fairies and fawns.
That's
I'm
great.
so excited to get
Yeah,
jump into it. But yeah, I'm gonna be doing. This is gonna be my personal assignment, and then I'm gonna also be going into Passport to Mongolia
yeah.
after this.
Nice.
So I'm hoping to set do some episodes on that, but I'm excited.
Well, let me give you
But
credit because I didn't know any like for the public to understand this, I'm way too overwhelmed by my own contact events, right? Like I am. I'm just too overwhelmed. What happened to me, I'm still processing it. The elder in my life presently, and then kind of the way I don't have to, I still interact with public and I still have plans about things I want to do. And I
yep.
can't do the research, right? Like when I zero in, I do research. And you
Mhm.
are the one who were throwing quotes about dimensions at me as you were reading it. And that's when I was like, wait, what is he saying? That's matching things I know. And then you kept doing it and kept throwing things at me. And that made me get dimensions, Jack Vallet's dimensions. And I made it became a presentation, became a whole series, right? It added to this whole picture that I did. And you did that, man. So thank you for that. And number two,
I
keep doing
was
it.
I was just listening to them, you know how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
It's that web effect, and
Yeah.
we're briefly talking about that. Is that when I had those, because I wouldn't do it with everyone. I would be listening, and then one would stood out, and I'd be like, I need to send this to Jeff. I don't know why,
Yeah.
and so that's always. I'm really glad that it led. and helped with building your presentation because yeah,
Yeah.
all these things are connected for sure.
Yeah, you got
But
it.
yeah, I 100% I'll keep doing that for as well because I know the topic is there's so much to research and when often you're having these experiences because I remember when we started the podcast Cosmic Convergence when we initially started it I was having so many things happening when that kind of beginning stage. I was like, this is, I, I don't know if I can do this. This is a lot because I'm having personal stuff happen. I have to integrate it and kind of
Yeah.
figure out what's going on at the same time, be doing this public podcast and like doing all the work when it comes to video editing and keep a consistent basis per week. And so, yeah, it can be a lot. It can be a lot to be kind of dual wielding that. And
Yeah.
at the same time, trying to keep up with all the news cycles and this researcher and this drama over here.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot. So, yeah. But, um, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I do have random notes and it kind of I have almost them all for each part, but I just
Wow.
kind of want to go through and we can see how this flows. But
Sure, do it. Yeah.
um, since we already went over part one, I didn't include that.
Yeah, perfect.
We already did our Q&A for that, and
Yeah, I
again,
agree.
it was funny with the end of that presentation. I still talk about it. The lights flick shutting
Right.
off, and then the door knock,
Yeah.
and because I was like, I don't think Jeff is seeing me right now because I remember taking my headphones. I was like, what
Right.
is going on?
Right. I did, yeah, it wasn't recorded, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah,
That would have been
but
cool.
you know, it's the weird stuff that happens when you're talking about the subject and
Yeah.
involved. So,
And it's doing it on
uh,
purpose at the time it's doing it too. It's got a
yes.
layered, a layered messaging. Yeah, it's very awesome. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so my notes I have for part two, I did have so differences between the tissue brain,
Oh
the
yeah.
ethereal mind, the timelessness state of being,
Right.
with the down, and so with the downloads that people talk about getting, and I've experienced this as well of getting like this packet of information.
Yeah.
Um, what are your thoughts? Do you think that's tied to the physical part of our brain, or do you think that the grays or other NHI, they store it in our ethereal
Yeah,
body?
good point. The problem here is I
Hmm.
think that their options are like, no, boom, it's like a lot. They can kind of do things as they that works for them, that also works for the way they want the human to process that information. Now, I'm convinced my download, my Mystic book, the kind of the biggest download that I have, definitely is, facilitated by an object in my a kind of a whatever this is. It's technology, but it could be, I think it's organic tech is what it is. And it's this thing that they put up my nose when I was 16 years old. And I think it's attached to my brain. I'm like way more convinced than ever. And then it's able to interact with me. And it played a part in the whole series of events that they did. So that's you can say assisted by. Yeah, assisted by the tech.
Hmm.
What I learned for myself in this whole entire process was a lot of the telepathy wasn't stored in my brain. It was stored in the states that I was in. And so all I'm doing when I'm in regression and I'm having a flashback is I'm just recalling, right? I'm trying to get all the detail out. I'm not thinking and analyzing, hey, what's really going on with me here? What state am I in? And it's not like I had all the answers and that state while in a regression or in the memories to pull it all out. And only now, all these years later, am I understanding the feelings and different sensations. And I'm convinced that telepathy is happening to, yeah, your ethereal body, your ethereal mind, and possibly the body itself. I think telepathy is not just a head thing,
Yeah.
and there is lots of reports of people saying that they feel telepathy in the body, and I agree with that. It's a very visceral experience, and I'm convinced it's being stored there and it's included with the state, which is so because we aren't exactly 100% aiming at that frequency of awareness of what it feels like to be on craft. So then we're not able to access that whole conversation, but it's left as
Right.
like it's left as like subconscious imprints. It's still imprinting in the body. And so I believe they can, alter your perception about something if through a telepathic communication, even though you don't remember the conversation. And so
Yep.
people, and that seems very common too in the phenomenon is that people who don't remember the contact are disturbed still. And it might be
Yeah.
because the alien or they had a conversation that freaked them out or they don't know what it was. And it could have been very personal to them. And then they don't know what the conversation was, but they're freaked out or they're uncomfortable by it. And I'm convinced that, yeah, there was a communication made there that
Hmm.
disturbs them. And that's in this case for me, it was all positive, at least for the first seven contact events. But so I'm 100% convinced that it's stored in the ethereal energy of the individual. And I think that's what this grand discovery was for me, is how much more it had to do with an ethereal body than it did to do with a physical brain. And it explains exactly why I had no knowledge of it. I just lived out a life as a teenager, not having any clue of how much power was being dumped into me at the time. And it makes sense now why that happened. And it's because of this physical brain and ethereal mind. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
um, I've had experiences personally where I've felt like it was a vibration as best as I can describe. Like when the room shifts and there's like this, you get succinct on this wavelength, and you're like, oh my. Then there's just then that aware that's where the awareness opens, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like you are more aware of what your place is in that experience.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I was just curious of that because
Yeah.
I wonder
Frequency.
how much of that, yeah,
That's
is
what I
like
keep.
the is that etheric part of yourself that's connecting to that frequency
Yeah.
versus your mind, you know?
Exactly.
Um, yeah.
That's what I discovered is it's yeah, and the word frequency is not I don't like it actually
Yeah.
because it's
I
not
agree.
the
I don't like it either.
yeah, it's not the actual description of the feeling. It really
No.
is, it is kind of like tuning in, but it really is a being state. It's a change of awareness. But technically, objectively, like scientifically, I'm 100% convinced it's a frequency. But so we're just stuck with all this, the words. We don't really have clear words. And when I say frequency,
Yeah.
I know people look at that objectively and then don't understand it because they can't find the personal experiences that matches frequency. I know how the brain works, and they sit there and go, "Okay, I'm going to meditate on a frequency tonight," and you can't do it, man. It won't work. It won't work. You
Yeah.
finding frequencies. You can't find 550 hertz. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like language impediments here going on. And that's the best way to frame it is if you have past life awareness, that's a frequency. And so you're not sitting there trying to drum up a frequency, you're just focused awareness on a feeling. That's
Yep.
what it is. Yeah. And the
Yep.
feeling is actually a change of frequency, but I don't like thinking of it that way either. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, we're stuck in this dilemma here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like almost like how does it describe? It's like having the experiences like I like how you're saying you don't like the word frequency. It's almost like if you were to walk into a movie theater and you're experiencing um you're hearing the music, you're experiencing like the whole event, but you're like it's maybe something that's nostalgic for you, so you get that feeling like it's stacked. It's not just
Mm,
a frequency. It's like
right.
it's multi-level. When you walk into that theater, it's like oh, it completely changes you as you walk in versus being outside of it. Does that make sense?
I think I get what you're
I'm trying to
saying.
put words to it,
Yeah, because
but
as a nostalgia, it's going to have layers of why it's nostalgic. So
yeah.
has your own history involved in that,
Yep.
which has depth. It has meaning making.
Hmm.
So yeah, you got it. And so there's a kind of a depth, and you didn't have that nostalgia coming in outside. Yeah, I think it's a awesome, simple description of that experience that you're tuning in to that space. Yeah, and that's technically what it is. I think of them as being states. I think that it's a
Yeah.
state of being, and that's what generates awareness. I think of that, and I have all that from meditation. But objectively, when I'm talking like that, it's hard to wrap people's head around that a whole identity can be stored there. So then how do you
Hmm.
talk articulate that? And talking about frequencies somehow makes the articulation about that identity being away from me or being stored somewhere. And it is kind of like like a vibrating frequency is keeping it there. And until
Yep.
I touch on that frequency, it pops into my awareness, and I get flooded with it. But it outside of that, if I'm not tuning into that vibration, then I'm going to live out my physical tissue brain's life, what I think my brain is, what I think I am. So it's super complex, and yeah, I love that analogy. That I think that's a good because yeah, the point of nostalgia is that you have all this history of meaning making behind
Yep.
that nostalgia. Yeah,
Yep, and you have that connection with them. It's hard to explain that connected feeling because when you have that interaction with the beings and you know that you're connected with them and they're connected with you, and it's not just that you're having this one interaction right now, but you've had many interactions that you're subconsciously aware of, but you can't remember, and
yeah,
at the same time, you can feel that you're a part.
yeah,
They're part of you somehow.
yeah,
It's a very complex. Um, Experience.
yeah,
And I feel like we have a really hard time putting that to a real good descriptor for people that maybe are new to the subject
yeah.
or are just researchers. It can be very hard to articulate that experience.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the more I'm stumbling, the more I'm analyzing exactly what happened to me. What's clear is I think it's pretty obvious now. They have a mastery and science of the ethereal body and mind.
Hmm.
So I'm actually convinced that some of the states, the contact events, uh, like I think the eighth contact event now was bilocation. So, but what's weird is I'm physically there. And I'm like, so like it's a weird, like it's an astral body state, is what it is. So it's like I'm sleeping and then they pull my awareness out and then they materialize me. So they materialize me. And I'm convinced the craft is the one that did it. So then they can make a full spirit walking on craft. And we have cases like this. And that explains why I saw my oversoul in on a craft in the afterlife vision because when you're like they have environments that can materialize spirit bodies. That's what I'm convinced this. And then now to think leader, well, like oversoul species or what? I'm sorry, leader species, mantid species, who now can do science with that ethereal body and has all these methods and all these things they can do. And yeah, I think this is like a whole thing we have no science for, no way of articulating or capturing the language about how they can do what they can do. We are still just touching the tip of the iceberg with all of this. That's what's so crazy. So yeah,
Right. We're like we're the uh to put a without putting a better lack of word is we're the video game characters and in this video game program that's running and
yeah,
we're trying to understand how the programmers
yeah, yeah,
operate
exactly. Yeah,
while being the avatar
yeah, yeah.
in the
Still
storyline.
stuck in it.
So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Exactly,
this
exactly.
it's so large that it's
Yeah,
really hard to understand or even grasp at the straws of you know, understanding our avatar state, let alone the fact that there's a part of us that is essentially maybe one of these programmers that we are not aware of as the character,
right.
but they are, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just a strange thing.
Yeah,
Um,
love it.
but yeah, kind of going into that, I want to just jump off. So in part three, there was a part where you were talking about the elder being a part of you to learn from
Mm.
your experiences. Can you go into that more?
Um, yeah, so I guess that's just like it's that so I use the word dual soul, and I don't mean to infringe on anything Susie Hansen has done, who really kind of drew that word in her book, in her yeah, in her book and her research. I use it as a frame of reference for my personal experience. I don't mean to cross research over. And dual identity was John Mack's label, and Joel Nyman had dual reference. So there was a recognition that there's uh, humans can oddly identify as being an alien. Like it has
Yep.
the whole sub psychology that occurs here, and so some version of that is occurring here with me. And The idea is that the elder witnessed it, deposited her ethereal body, or maybe aligned again, the only words I could have here are frequency. So it's like she is a vibration or she is a frequency, and then she embeds that frequency into my vibration. She becomes familiar with my vibration. She's able to easily tune into it, and vice versa. I'm easily able to tune into it. But when I don't know I'm having contact events, I feel connected and I don't know why. I now know she can draw it. So she's the one who's able to, uh, if it's not her, maybe the aliens can somehow interact with that dual soul part of me or that double layer, that dual ethereal body. I don't know how to frame it. I just don't know how to frame it. But yeah, there's a real clear feeling and sensation of link and
Hmm.
connection. And then you don't know what you're connected to when you don't have the memories. And all you know is you're feeling a drive and you're guiding your life in a direction that's actually led by them. And they're all doing it invisibly. And you're reading the right books, you're going down the right avenues. And I also believe that this was an experiment on their behalf. So they actually really wanted to see the inside. Oh, not mentioned in my presentation, which I 100% believe is a part of this. I think it's in the book you have there, The Fauns and Fairies. Jacques Vallée mentions it. That, yeah, the secret commonwealth of elves, fauns, and fairies. I'm pretty certain that one of the things that was distinct about the elves was that they loved to travel. And here I am being like, oh my God, the elder as my dual soul or as this dual identity loves to live out my experience of me traveling. So she's loving that I'm like going through nature and I'm hiking and I'm traveling, I'm lonely, I'm lost, I'm wandering, I don't know, it's all for spirituality. Loves it. It's just entertainment for her. I don't doubt that was her TV show, right? That's their entertainment. And it's like it makes so much sense why traveling was a big part of it, why they were a big part of it. Like they just got all this love out of it. And for them, it was research combined with just great old fashioned entertainment. And they could really live the experience too, right? They got that lost I was and how struggling I was and how much hope I had. And yeah, and they lived it with me in a way that she was obviously able to detach from, but still first person experience of what it felt like. And I think that was, maybe some percentage of what she wanted to get out of that, but simultaneously there was a research component to it. And then there was another component of it that they could guide me. And I don't mean control, but I'm pretty convinced that they could keep me out of danger and then guide me to do things with which could benefit me and help me. So yeah, that's the gist of that. It's pretty complex, obviously.
Yeah, it's this mutual benefit of having this integration between you two.
Yeah,
I just thought well, the way you were kind of explaining it, I've yeah, there seems to be this weird connection between a lot of experiencers, and they'll have a kind of experience, or they'll have a being that'll be interactive with, and they're like, I am really connected to this one particular. So I was just wanting to get more insight on that because yeah, it is a strange thing.
it
And
is.
it's um going back to the John Keel document where they're talking about like people being controlled by the UFO powers, right?
Yeah,
And then the flip side, you have experiencers talking about how this very intimate, almost joyous, sad, and really you're doing life with them.
yeah,
You're
right.
having this interaction, right? This real time ups and downs, and um, it's more so to it's more about that, like what Whitley Strieber has said, communion versus control. I think
Yeah.
there's a big discrepancy between like that viewpoint and what really is going on. Um, and yeah, so I did kind of bring that up in a later part, but we'll just kind of keep going through as they come up. So um, when so an episode or so part four, in our own ability to fill in the gaps after a contact event, what stood out was when you talked about closing this experience off of your awareness that you had replaced with the image of a wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was some that episode was really interesting because again, going into experiencers that have a very visceral experience and then they are made to forget it. They'll
Right.
have like a screen memory, or they'll just kind of remember something and then they'll maybe later go, "Oh my God, the beans um uh deceived me and put an image there to make me
Yeah.
forget about it."
Yeah.
Whereas you're talking about, you're like, yeah, because they closed this access of this experience off from me, my brain had to fill in the gap, and so I just put a wizard in it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really a good way of explaining that. I think that's something that a lot of people can misconstrue as deception.
Yeah. 100%. Um, Yeah, it's really interesting that that video got. I'm always able to see how the responses, or see people's responses to these things, and yeah, that video got a lot of attention, and relatively to my channel, I mean, and but it was interesting to reflect what's going on there, and I guess it's the second contact event is just almost bare bones screen memory, very brief contact event, and then my effect from the memory being removed from me. And yeah, it's true. There's two elements going on there. And what doing this kind of review with this new method that I had exposed that all that's the second, the fourth, the sixth, the seventh, they all had like kind of after effects that were nothing to do with them. And it was all to do with me. And yeah, it was. And when I really went down to the nitty gritties of understanding those different sensations and feelings, it's clear I was up here in this. Yeah, again, frequency is the only word I got. Is I'm in a higher vibrational frequency, and then when it's taken out of my awareness, I'm the one, yeah, producing a thing that contains that energy actually, because it's like a leftover residual deposit of that high vibrational psychic energy. And I mean psyche energy, not psychic, but psyche, the psychology of the individual. And so it goes boof and pops out a something, a meaning making image, and for the moment. And yeah, of course, it was a wizard, and I remember this evening. It's so bizarre, and of course, yeah, it had all these rich, deep feelings behind it that didn't make sense. But once there was an image, no problem. I'll just keep going, living my life, and I can't make sense of what I just experienced. And then independently is the screen memory over top of it, and that gets really interesting how they handled that, and my whole dissecting of the screen memory, because it was really, I think it's one of my favorite things to have figured out that they have everything has depth. Everything that about the aliens did with me, I can literally meditate on these things and think about them, and play little games, bring in Vedic Sanskrit chants and mix them up with this alien stuff and try to figure it out. And this has no depth. I can't do that here. This is just it feels like a band-aid. It literally feels like someone put an image in me, and then it's going to remain there for not even the feelings, but the location. It wasn't tied to the feelings. It was trying to cover up the feelings. It was tied to the location. And that's so
Mm.
from my own research, the brain keeps track of geotags, right? So very interesting. When I actually went back to the location of that screen memory is when I cracked it all open. So it's very interesting the way this stuff gets handled. And a whole other separate connecting piece is very interesting in learning. I don't know if you caught that in my where I talk about the AI, but that this was all a product of the AI. And I don't really know if that's true, but that's where all the feelings unraveled, was somehow like, how the hell do they know all this? Like, how the hell can they manage a human brain from my internal eyes? Unless there's a quantum AI involved that knows how to stuff things in very gentle ways, so you just won't look at it. And
Mhm.
yeah, that was a very interesting contact event, and yeah, fascinating how it has those kind of multi-layered, you know, yeah, obscurities going on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you said there's such an enrichment of it with those experiences where you often, I feel like there's researchers or others that just kind of look at it and go, well, okay, that was the event, that was the experience you had, cool, moving on. Whereas that experiencer might have a lifetime to unpack. these experiences and their multi complexity of also affecting other people they talk to and other things. And these
Yeah.
beings are able to, or the God AI, as you say, um, is able to know how everything is intrinsically connected and is going to affect everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the picture is so much larger uh,
Always.
than even us experiencers understand.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Agreed. It's awesome.
and yeah. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Okay, so in part nine, um, oh, sorry, I am losing my track of
No
places.
problem, man. Take your time.
Okay, part five. So you said we form agreements with interdimensional beings to
Oh
create
yeah.
bodies for nation-faring planets and dimensional lands, and this is what we have done with your home world. And that was from, I believe, was the elder
Yeah.
telling you through that event. But yeah, I thought that was so interesting, and I know we've had those conversations before of the beings and how they are kind of seeding us in this way of like this co-creation through the universe. But yeah, did you get any other details when it came to that experience where she was depositing this information for you?
Just what's written there. Yeah, I've gotten all that out. At least yeah, I combed through it several times now, so I've gotten all that out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's in that would be a perfect example of that wasn't in my physical tissue brain. That was in my
Mm,
ethereal mind. It's all bup, 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 bup. It's all kind of, I don't even quite know what's going on, actually. Even to this day, I still don't understand it. But her eyes, her very large, paranormal-ish, telepathic, psychic space, and she envelops you, and now you're staring at her, and she's and it almost has a sensation of pulses. Yeah, pulses coming at you, and then it's containing like information that you're like, oh, and if I was skilled in the moment, I could be like, oh, I think they're saying this or saying that, and but I'm not. And so
right,
I'm getting these imprints and I'm not really understanding, and they're containing imagery. There was imagery there too, but I'm not understanding any of the words then or the context, but it's all coming into me. And that's how I can pull it all out 20 something years later, is because it's tied to a location, it's tied to a specific emotional frame of reference for the kid at the time, the 20-year-old or the 19 or whatever I was. And then when I pull those things out and then have a flashback of being on craft, that's all it takes. And then I can actually be like, oh my God, she's saying things to me. And okay, there's something I have to, okay, wait, something about Earth and something about humans and da da da, and I can like pull it all out. And yeah, and I didn't know what state I was in at the time, and I couldn't quite understand it all. And now I get it. I was just a 20-year-old or a 19-year-old in love, right? Like infatuated by this whole experience, and because of what happened to the first contact event. So I was intimidated, but like in love and letting them control the scenario. And yeah, she's just depositing, practically is what it is, depositing information into me. And very distinct things were that they were just the face of what was going on here, that there was other players behind this. And yeah, that there was some type of larger earth relationships, transactions, nothing malevolent, and actually all benevolent, and seeing all of existence from a larger, higher perspective. And that even like, I think the other part of what that information contained, that is really that I can just grasp at, is uh, I think we think there's physical reality, and maybe we're all believing, or maybe some of us are believing now there's an afterlife, and we just think that's it. But there's actually, yeah, what's being said is there's actually an intermediary that is massive, right? So it's aware of that afterlife, it's aware of our physical existence, and they're kind of intermediating the entire thing and maybe creators of that boundary, and then working with us in that process. And so yeah, it was kind of a larger picture about the intermediary. After there's an afterlife over here, there's your physical existence, and yeah, we're the whole creators of this big thing, and we do it on purpose, and we did it. And I'm gonna say, actually, with you is what the that's what that line is also inferring too, right? The line is inferring, I think we're gonna I'm just, I don't have all the details. I'm just going to say, I'm going to speculate a little bit. I'm convinced that when there is disclosure, and I mean the aliens disclosing, not governments, and the alien,
Right.
we see all of what was going on, and they're going to show us on holograms. We're going to see we were all aware of it. Thanks for making these great bodies, guys. Oh yeah, this one is fantastic. Woohoo! We love this experience. Okay, thanks for making us humans. And the aliens are like, okay, great. You develop and figure it all out for yourself. And maybe some ancient wisdom had the true story, and then it got lost through wars and starvation and human suffering on the planet, like it always does. And then we lost this true story. And I think something like that might be going on here too. So I think it was conscious, and we were all part of it, aware of it. And that's kind of what that telepathic imprint specifically relays. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's wild stuff.
it is. Yeah.
It's so much. Yeah. Well, we've talked about this before. It was it was a while back. We were talking about the mantis
Yeah.
beings, and that they probably are like, are they fully physical? Are they not physical? And like, they're probably really, if we're talking about like degrees of where these beings live on the plane of reality, is that they're probably able to kind of mess with the matrix of what this reality is, right?
Yeah.
They're able to do a lot more than you have maybe grays that are a little bit lower on the food chain or whatever else, or not enough. It's uh more there's the spiritual component, the ethereal, but then they're able to kind of move into that physical space when they have their bodies, right?
Yeah.
And stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, yeah, and yeah,
That's
I wonder. So go ahead.
no, go ahead. Just finish what you're saying.
I wonder if with disclosure, like you said with them, if that we're going to realize that death is just level two of a multiple levels of how this reality works.
Yeah. We're not just going to learn that. We're going to learn that we are also on their level,
Yeah,
that we have an oversoul ourselves, and that there's nothing separating us from them, just that they have a job. And that's what they're committed to, and that's their existence, is to build these things, to build these systems, and yeah, and I think that we are just one of the many that they're aware of, and we are our physical existence is just a version of things too. You know, I don't doubt that there's whales existing on some other planet in our own star system that they communicate to, and there's a whole culture going on there on an astral dimension, and then that's all considered life and considered advanced, even more advanced than us, right? Like I think we're going to be it's going to be a bit perplexing, all the variety. I think that's what I'm trying to capture there. Existence, God, life is just mass variety, and I think that we're going to be overwhelmed by the amount of new existence that we're going to learn about. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I agree fully, full-heartedly. Um, was that what you were wanting to go into?
Oh, oh, you're talking. Yeah, what's really interesting is that okay, the second contact event. Um, so the elder is some type of entity that can't be in my dimension, and the idea
Right.
that the second contact event, an idea that they actually literally make bodies to be in our realm, that was just, and I still think that that's kind of what's going on here. I think you got the tiny ones who can actually maybe in some form be in our realm, and maybe they are just robots and kind of android type things helping out and making things work, and they're able to do telepathy because they're ethereal dimensional entities still. And then you have the tall grays who can maybe be in our dimension a little bit and but not full on, like that kind of Victor, because I always think the Victor alien
Yeah.
interview is the species I'm dealing with, and that
Yeah.
species was suffering. He was actually coughing and choking, and the doctor was trying to help him out. So I think that maybe there's varying degrees of the exact same species who can be in our dimension, and some of them can't, and that's even more complex. Like some of them can be here, some of them can't, and they're even though they can't be here, they're fully interacting with us still, just in their way, ethereal, astral, freezing time. Like we just when you start realizing what the hell this is, it's expanding out into so many possibilities that it's almost like a human has to give up trying to analyze it and say, okay, I guess it's all real. It's like, okay, I guess Arcturians are a part of this, and maybe I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. Yeah,
Right. Right. When you do the research, like for missing time, for example, uh, it's like, wait, hold up, missing time. This person's remembering the fact that they missed time. This is by design, by
yeah,
them. They
yeah,
can do whatever they want. They can pluck you out like in a millisecond, put you back in. You'll never remember it.
yeah,
And that's the level of interactions that I think that we're going to become even more aware of,
yeah,
once we have this realization. We're like, oh my God, you guys have been beside us the entire time.
yeah,
And they're
yeah.
like, yeah, well,
Easy peasy.
you guys had to do your human thing and you had to forget and we had to, block off certain things first so you don't remember because it could mess with things, and
That,
that's the other component with it that I wonder is how much interactions are we actually having?
yeah, yeah, that's the whole
Yeah.
question. And I mean, that was the second contact event, right? That screen memory, the other very, very, very revealing thing about that screen memory after spending a lot of energy on it and meditating on it, my own higher self let it happen. It was like, yeah, put that in there because that guy, we need him to just live out a normal teenage life.
Mhm.
So there's a part of my own upper awareness, higher awareness that's like open says me, like you, gray alien, do whatever you want here, put that thing into it. It wasn't saying like that, but there is a sensation of the openness, and then there's a willingness to put in a screen memory that makes it unobtrusive for me. So
Mhm.
yeah, the whole idea that we think it's deception, but you don't, when we don't know what we really are, we can't really have a say in what the hell's going on. Because you could eat just the same way that you are birthed into a scenario that's challenging for you, you could have a higher self that says, and maybe the gray aliens are going to be challenging on you and they want it because it's going to develop you in a way that that higher self, that oversoul desires.
Mhm.
And that's the game of life. So when the gray aliens get into the mix, that's what I learned, is that my own oversoul was a willing participant in that screen memory, and
Yeah.
very fascinating. Yeah, the levels and scales of their involvement with us, and that we were okay with it, and not knowing we were okay with it is the, I don't think, also a really hard one for humans to swallow, because we just love being victims, right?
It's
Humans
a
love
hard
being
one.
victims.
Oh yeah. Well, especially with having negative experiences, that's a really hard one to contend with when it comes
Yeah.
to the experiencer uh abductee
And
groups,
yeah, I don't actually, like, I haven't come across any contact yet where that looks actually like negative, the negative experience was not induced on a spiritual level. Like, I'm still finding there's people who are having experiences that they were traumatized by, and I'm not
hmm
denying that
Yeah,
because I also had trauma too. But
right.
when I go down the rabbit hole to figure out what's really going on with them, dude, they're getting pulled out of their bodies and they're getting freaked out by it. I'm like, that's a paranormal thing. And these guys, they do that with everybody, man. Like, this is the growth part, actually. This is them forcing you to be aware that you're something else. And you're saying, no, I'm a body. Screw you, I'm a body. Right? That's what's going on. You're freaking out at it. And
Yeah.
Whitley Strieber talked about that on the Danny Jones podcast. And here I am pairing it up with my own experience, and I'm not freaking out, right? So the aliens know how to do what they're doing, and those aren't awful. That's not. I wouldn't even claim that as to be malevolent. That's them kind of trying to wake you up to things. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to shock you because life is shocking.
Yeah.
So I still, like, maybe there's some species out there that doesn't follow any of this. I don't know, but I've never seen that. I've never come across that contact, and
hmm
so it is very interesting what's going on.
Yeah, it is. And it reminds me of John Mack's book, Abductions. You go through all those different cases. There's a lot of people that have very visceral experiences where they're traumatized by what they remember. He helps them work through it. By the end of it, they are transformed by it.
Yeah,
And so again, it's always looking at how is this affecting the individual. Um, and I think was it in part, let's see, it was just jumping over. So
yeah,
part
go for it.
12, you mentioned trauma response is what activates the extreme depth of
Mm,
the dimensional body.
yeah, yeah,
Because trauma with the phenomenon, like that shock, that cracking that cosmic egg is a requirement.
It is.
So
Yeah.
is a requirement.
Yeah, it is.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's people. This is what happens when people, their spirituality is based off of YouTube channels. Like everyone thinks it's all just lovey-dovey. Man, like Krishna literally told Arjuna to kill his relatives, right? He was in a battlefield, and the grand book of the Bhagavad Gita is literally Krishna telling Arjuna to go fight. And then the whole discourse is in the middle of the battlefield. Like, man, you can't get any better of an analogy for human life. And then to find your spirit in the crux of that. So it's trauma. And I remember this from Carl Jung. Carl Jung noticed in his own research too that the people who he was dealing with like in the psychiatry, he noticed that they had, like, he saw the cooperation or the linkage between people who had highly psychic abilities, people who were having manifestations of synchronicities, which what he was studying at the time, or people who demonstrated some type of, psychic awareness, had a break in their psyche. So it was
Hmm.
like it was a clear connection, a break in the psyche, and that break was a trauma. Something occurred in their environment, a family member died, and then it was combined with something that was shocking. I don't know, and then the person can't resolve it, and then they end up with this weird life, but they end up with a broken psyche, and then they end up with high psychic abilities. And he noticed that cooperation, and I noticed that too in the a year or something into after the rising. I couldn't find peace with what had happened to me, and yet I remember reading that, and I was like, this makes sense because I could feel I was spiritually connected now to something, and I didn't understand what was going on and why did I go through I did what I did, but I had to have a breakage, and that book was clearly something to break your psyche.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's like our modern day equivalent. We don't really have any form of like rituals that we go through becoming
yeah,
older and becoming an adult, right? This
yeah,
like if you're a man becoming like the from a boy to a man, or if you're a woman or in between. But we've had a long time of history with tribes that is kind of there's this initiation. When
yeah,
you go through that initiation ritual, it's not comfortable.
yeah,
It's often probably pretty traumatizing going through that, right?
yeah,
Facing your demons, all those different things that I think in the modern day sense, we probably have a lot of leftover um, subconscious perceptions on of like Puritan beliefs or other elements that really just really cause disparity between making sure things are either good or evil. There's no
yeah,
in between.
yeah,
And there's this hard divide, right?
yeah,
So someone if you're having a spiritual experience, it has to be positive. That means that it's
yeah,
with
right,
God. If it's a negative experience, that means that it's demonic and there's no in between, right? So
right,
I think that just the disparity is still there in in the subconscious of our world,
right.
especially in the Western philosophies and like our society. So yeah, because I hear a lot of people talk about that, and it feels like again it feels like that well, I don't want to go to the doctor. It's I don't like the stuff that they put in my face. I don't like it. I don't like that they give me a shot. I don't want to do it. It's negative, it's traumatizing. I don't want to do it, right? It's evil. Where in the greater understanding of the parent, right, of this child that's talking about this experience of going to the doctor, they're like, you need to do it because it's going to help you. It's going
Yeah,
to make you so you're not sick, and you have to do it. And
yeah,
so I think that's kind of the reality of it.
yeah. And it really comes, it's so funny how that Jacques Vallée's book Dimensions, it's just got that one line, right? The one line of the alien, and Jacques Vallée is criticizing the scenario, right? He's actually, it's the military, the security guard, and he's doing a round, and then there's a UFO on the road, and then he just sees the UFO fly away, and he comes back and there's missing time, and then they do hypnotic regression, and it turns out he had a full contact event, went inside the UFO, alien talked to him, and then said, "You're not going to remember this night because you won't speak wisely about it." Being able to speak wisely about our contact events just might actually be the problem of why you can't
Mm.
remember them, because you might be like, ugh, right, damn aliens, and I was a victim, and you can't process it until you understand the bigger picture about even your own life. It's not, forget aliens. You need to have a picture about your own traumas that you have to internalize things that way as well too. And I think that's the benefit about why the aliens maybe gave me those memories is because
Hmm.
my Sadguru and everything I'm trained into through the Vedic Vedanta is to be in the battle of life.
Hmm.
And that's how it's framed. And being love, light, and kindness, and forgiving, and accepting, and all those powerful positive values that we have, and internalize God, internalize love, and then be that in the garbage of our lives, in the hardship of our lives, in the dump
Hmm.
of our lives.
Hmm.
And what you end up learning is that you can create yourself out of things, and because we're creator beings at the core. And I think you need that wisdom here. I
Hmm.
think what you're hitting is just that's what it is. I think true spirituality is actually not lovey-dovey. It's evolution.
Yeah.
And then a lovey-dovey is it's not lovey-dovey. That's why. It's not lovey-dovey.
It's not lovey-dovey.
It's not
No,
lovey-dovey. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not realistic of
It's
how
not
reality
realistic at all.
works. No.
Love isn't coddling you.
No.
True love is an acceptance of the nature of reality and your purpose here, and the detachment is actually a high part of it too. You can't be attached to what you want the outcomes of your existence to be,
Hmm.
and sometimes in that detachment you find your peace, and I think that peace is the beginning of it all. So you find your love in that peace. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome.
No. Wise words. No, I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
we're solving humanity here. This is it's amazing. Great.
Uh, all right. So let's see. What else we got? We got